City of Austin is raising concerns about high-risk situations in which officers are not allowed to wear body cameras. This came out today as police and council members were discussing a recent audit into the police department's rollout of body cameras.
Police supervisors say the footage has helped with investigations into a number of cases where officers used deadly force. But as police reporter Jacqueline Powell explains, APD is concerned that federal law is keeping some officers from using that safeguard in some of the most risky cases.
It's that one incident that happens when a camera's turned off that then becomes a defining moment. We see that happening right now in South Bend, Indiana.
And Austin Mayor Steve Adler worries that could happen to Austin officers who work on joint task forces with federal agents. Citywide, 38 officers work on 7 different task forces with agencies like the FBI, U.S. Marshals, and Drug Enforcement Agency. Those federal agents aren't allowed to wear body cameras to protect things like informants and, in some cases, national security.
Some of their tactics and procedures that they use at the federal level that they don't want becoming public.
So when Austin police officers work with them, they can't wear cameras either. Police Chief Brian Manley is one of several who've been negotiating to change that for more than a year now. After all, task force operations are some of the most dangerous cases that police work.
We certainly don't want one of our officers being involved in a critical incident and not being on video.
The city of Atlanta pulled all of its officers off of all federal task forces for that reason. It's an option APD's chiefs have considered but don't want to resort to just yet.
They're all important things that we do for our community to take bad people off the street, and we don't want to just walk away from that because that certainly doesn't make us any more safe.
I spoke with Chief Manley more in depth about his negotiations with the DOJ today. He says he's requested that his officers be allowed to wear their body cameras during planned operations when they're executing either a search warrant or an arrest warrant. Those are the dangerous situations in which he feels they really need them. He says they don't need them on during any classified conversations or interviews with informants. Chief Manley tells me that he does feel that the feds have been open to considering that compromise, and he says APD won't consider pulling out of any task forces as long as those conversations are still moving forward. Back to you.
And as Jacqueline mentioned there are 38 APD officers who've been deputized to work on 7 federal task forces. They include working with the FBI on the gang, joint terrorism, cyber crimes, and robbery task forces, working with the Drug Enforcement Agency on the Narcotics Task Force, the U.S. Marshals on the Lone Star Fugitive Task Force, and the U.S. Secret Service on the Central Texas Financial Crimes Task Force.